Welcome to Modern Goddess. Here we discuss everything mastering your mindset, wellness wisdom, upgrading your relationships so that you can unleash your divine goddess essence and live your authentic best self every single day. I'm your host, Cassie Aurora. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am in my new room surrounded by my beautiful purpley pink walls. And I know that you'll appreciate, if you've moved house, what a huge task it is. In fact, it's been a real eye-opener for me as a projector and as a, someone who has an autoimmune. Well, pretty much in remission, but I still have to be mindful. I really realised that moving house walloped my energy, and I have been feeling like the last 2 days, jumping back into my coaching and getting back into full work, that I've been hit by a bus, guys. And I love my work. I love my coaching. It is my absolute joy, 100%. However, it's really hit me that I'm tired. But I am feeling a lot better than I used to, and I think that's because of a lot of my dietary changes I've had to make. I am like the antithesis of the personal trainer I used to be. I used to believe in low carb, train mean, eat lean, etc. And as I've discovered as I've got older, actually to find health, it's not swinging left, it's not swinging right, it's actually the middle ground. And I went through raw veganism, I went through weightlifting, through CrossFit, I went through every extreme, got the t-shirt and went to hell and back with it, really. And this is why today's episode is so close to my heart. We didn't go as deep as I wanted to with today's amazing guest, but we spoke about something probably, to me, it was a lot more interesting, and it was something else that was really playing on my mind. So I am valuing every moment of time I had with today's guest, Ronnie. And we'll get into that very shortly. Something I wanted to share with you is that, recently I moved away from veganism. It was a really difficult decision for me, and I wanted to open up about it before today's show, because the reason I got Ronnie on was, I guess I was scared to talk about the fact that I've had to move away from veganism. But the truth is, and some of you know who know me well, is I am a very sensitive person. I really want to do the best I can for the planet. But it came to a certain point where, I do not agree with how animals are farmed, and me and Ronnie mentioned that in today's episode. It is abhorrent and tragic and an abomination to the animal kingdom. However, I also have to honour that my human body was and is having to rehabilitate from years of veganism, and I won't get too much into it, but it really is a rehabilitation for me. A fully plant-based diet for my body, uniquely me, has not been conducive to my fertility, to my digestive health, to my thyroid health. And you might hear that I'm a bit husky today, and it's truly because I'm quite my thyroid is essentially, I have Hashimoto's, and that has been brought on mainly by my diet, because my emotional work, as you know, I am very into my healing work. In fact, it's my primary thing that I do. And I have worked deeply through the fragments of myself. I've been on a healing journey that's very unique, that not many travel through. One that has made me feel like my reality has been shattered every single time I've gone to my therapist. I actually work with an integrative therapist. I'm actually training myself now. But the work I do, I don't shout and rave about it. It's very deep, it's very introspective. And that has been the thing that took my healing as far as it could go emotionally without changing my diet. And it came to the point where I knew about 6 months ago I had the urge to eat meat. And now that's not something I've ever really wanted. I've not been drawn to meat as a kid. I never liked it. But it was a primal thing. And it's been the most powerful movement for me in terms of my cognitive function, my ability to transcend my ego, my ability to fully heal and let go of deeper wounding has all happened since I reintegrated animal products. I feel more grounded, I feel more healthy, and I've noticed I went 3 days this week without eating an animal product just to see. And what's happened is, I feel like I've been hit by a bus. My body is really depleted if I am not allowing myself to fuel properly. And it's just at that stage for me where right now this is the change I'm having to make. It came to the point where it was cruel to my body, to my vessel. I couldn't be my best. I couldn't shepherd the planet because I was so depleted. And I am here to fully commit to life. I'm here to fully help and serve the planet. And I could not do that and cannot do it from a depleted place. So I want to share with you that sometimes we think that we are doing the right things for our health. But actually, when our health no longer is improving, when we're starting to feel like we're plateauing and we're not getting where we want to get, something needs to change. Now, I know you guys are truth seekers, and that's why I want to jump onto an exciting announcement. I know a lot of you know that I am doing my Heal Your Inner Child group coaching program. I'm so excited about this. It's essentially everything I do with my one-to-one clients, but in a form that you can access. So you can access that premium level of powerful, transformative, integrative coaching that I do, which is very unique. You've probably never done anything like this before. I have a client that said to me the other day, of all the years of her life in therapy, no one had ever helped her gain that level of insight, and she's so happy because of it. And my clients, you can see the testimonials on my website. They speak for themselves. The work I do is extremely different. It's probably like nothing you've experienced before. You may have had counseling, conventional therapy. You may have done lots of yoga. You may have been someone who has been on the spiritual path for a while, and yet you still feel like no matter what, you always come back to the same anxieties, self-limiting beliefs, and fear. And this is because there is stuff that you still have not yet healed. Trauma lives in your body. It's deeply ingrained in your being. We're conditioned through fear and shame from the moment we're born. And our parents are conditioned in that way. And so they condition us in that way. And so our inner child archetype, which lives within us, very often ends up being deeply suppressed. And as a result, we experience unexplained anxiety, depression, shame. We feel you might feel that your romantic relationships, you feel disconnected. You might push people away, whilst at the same time feeling very desperate for their love. If you've got inner child stuff, you will have anxiety that's unexplained. You will feel like something is missing and your potential is slipping away, but you feel too shameful to go and get it. You may feel unworthy of love. You might feel that, you might have chronic health issues or an autoimmune. There's a lot of trauma that informs autoimmune. These are studies that prove this. And trauma doesn't have to be a big thing, can be a small thing. Being a child is trauma. You might be a type A person and you feel like you can't slow down or sit still, and you're people pleasing, overworking, you hustle, and yet your bank balance is still empty. You still feel unfulfilled and exhausted. This is probably stemming from childhood beliefs that need to be healed. You might struggle with painful periods. You might feel shame around sex. You might feel shame around your body. If you've suffered abuse as a child, if your mum had addictions or was dieting or was over-exercising, you will have absorbed that somewhere. If you yo-yo diet and you feel out of control with your body, that's a sign, that there's some inner child stuff to heal. If you have issues with men, the same kind of things, being cheated on, betrayed, feeling needy, then that's, another block. If you attract kind of rat bag men, I used to do that. I get it. It's a childhood block. It's a limitation. It's something within you that needs integrating and feeling so that you can change that reality. Perhaps you have some money blocks, and you struggle to create the income you truly want, and you feel a scarcity mindset. If you feel like those things, really resonate with you, then I know this program will benefit you, because it dives deep in learning how to heal your limitations at a root level. So it's a good job you're hearing this, because I've created this innovative, unique program just for you to finally heal once and for all from those old limiting beliefs, thoughts, and traumas that are replaying through your body and keeping you stuck small and really like your life is slipping away from you. I know what it's like, to live in a world of worry, anxiety, shame. I know what it's like to feel like you hate your body, to struggle with anorexic thoughts, yo-yo dieting, to abuse yourself, to feel that people abuse you, walk all over you. I know what it's like to not be able to set boundaries, to have suffered abandonment and grief, and to have an autoimmune. And honestly, like, when I worked on the stuff that had been ingrained into me through childhood, those deep core woundings, I actually was able to manifest the love of my life, to overcome, like I say, most of my health issues, without changing my diet. I healed a tremendous amount of health problems that the doctor couldn't diagnose. I now have the bank balance of my dreams. I regained my health and my happiness, and you can do it too. It's just that you didn't know how. I read all the spiritual books, I watched all the programs, I went to the counselors, went to the therapist, I went to Reiki, but it didn't work because it didn't go deep enough. And this is why I know that what I do works, and this is why my clients see results week after week, and this is why they feel amazing. I basically created this program for you, and it's based on all the transformational work I do. It's different because it blends holistic tools from all my years of yoga, coaching, meditation, from kind of alternative coaching practices, body work. It works because it's deeper than just talking. We are more than just speaking. We are whole organisms. Our nervous system needs support. And this program gives it us. When the nervous system heals, so do the emotions and the physical body. It's deep stuff. So you can work at a surface level, but it will never truly get to the roots of your issues. And this is why I know this program is the safe container that you need to heal, to be supported, and to thrive, with a like-minded community of women that are really on the same path as you. And I'll be there the whole time to help you process, to help you feel held, nurtured, and give you that space, the safe space you need to really share with you the tools you need to fully heal yourself and your life. So if you're sick and tired of feeling like you're in the supporting role of your life and watching it roll by without you and not actually the leading lady in your life, then this program is for you. So I strongly encourage you to get in touch if you feel like you want to be part of this 6-week program. It starts in August and I only have a few spaces. I'm opening up enrollment July the 13th until July the 27th. And after that, you cannot enroll. So make sure you email me if you want to be on this course and if you want to find out more about it. I'm going to offer the first 10 places at $100 discount. So if you want to save $100, then jump on that now. Email me at hello@cassieaurora.com and we'll hop on a call and we can find out if it's the right fit for you, because it needs to be the right fit. The women in this group, it's going to be a very special energy. I'm really excited about it, but it needs to be the right fit for you. And so email me hello@cassieaurora.com and you can find out more. And if you want to just read more about it, you can head to my website, cassieaurora.com, and not only do you save $100 on enrollment if you are the first 10 people to sign up, you can also benefit from a free mini astrology reading that I will gift those first 10 signups. So please, 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 if you want to be on that course, do not miss out. I know that you can be on the other side of where you are now and feel confident, abundant, and full of peace and joy. Jump on that call with me. Let's talk about it, and I cannot wait to support you. So let's get on to today's guest. Ronnie Landis. What a powerful interview. I mean, this is one of definitely my favorite interviews. Ronnie Landis is a leading expert in holistic health, natural nutrition, and human potential. He helps driven entrepreneurs, athletes, executives, and influencers to perform at their best, mentally, emotionally, and physically. He is pretty awesome, and he is actually offering you guys, so this is only for you guys, I will put it in the show notes, he is offering you 50% off his holistic health mastery program. Now, he talks about it in the podcast episode. Honestly, it sounds amazing. It actually has like a certified holistic health master ingrained into it, so you actually get that qualification from it. You learn integrating raw superfood nutrition, ancient wisdom of traditional tonic herbalism, creating optimal digestion, balancing hormones using natural foods. You get a deeper understanding of the mind-body connection, detoxification principles and cleansing protocols, creating invincible immunity. I know that we all need that right now. Optimizing brain and preventing degeneration of your brain, we need that. Pregnancy and children's nutrition, that's something I'm super interested right now. The art and science of personal transformation. It's pretty comprehensive, and on his website, the full curriculum is there. It sounds so interesting. If I wasn't studying for my nutritional therapy practitioner and for my holistic integrative psychotherapy right now, I'll be jumping on that. But when I finish those, you can bet I'll be adding this to my big, wonderful agenda of things to learn in this life. And like I say, guys, if you feel like you want that holistic health master qualification, then jump on his course. He's offering you 50% off. That's really generous, like amazing. So you can use that using the code HHM50, all capital letters, so HHM50, and the website is ronnie-landis.mykajabi.com/HHM. So that's a lot to remember. So I'm going to put it in the show notes so you can hop on it. But let's, without any further ado, welcome my amazing friend Ronnie to the podcast. It's going to blow your mind. It's probably going to trigger you, but honestly, you're going to love it. So enjoy, and I cannot wait to hear what you think of this episode. Be sure to tag me when you listen. Let me know what you think, because I am so excited for you to hear it, and let me know where you're listening, what you're doing, and be sure to reach out to Ronnie and let him know what you thought of this episode, because he is a powerful mind, and his wisdom, I'm in so much joy. Enjoy the episode. Let's welcome Ronnie to the podcast. Oh yeah, I know all about that. Me included a lot of the time, you know. So Ronnie, thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm really happy to have you here.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Cassie.
Awesome. So I really wanted to kick off today about hearing your story, because that's the thing that when you're on Al's podcast, I was like, wow, what a story, because you've been a professional athlete in like 2 sports, is it? And your journey is just so fascinating. And the thing that stood out to me was like how you do have excellence in everything you do. and you don't just like think about something, you go and experience it and immerse yourself and then come out with the knowledge. And I think that's a really standout thing in this world today. So do you want to share like your story? Like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to just go over the cliff notes here. So just to what you mentioned about being an athlete. So I was raised in martial arts and playing basketball. So when I was about 4 years old, I was raised with martial arts, and that was kind of like the driving force of my life. That was my main focus. At one point, it definitely consumed really everything that I was trying to do and trying to become and develop myself. And it gave me the foundation of both the physical side of martial arts, but then also Eastern philosophy, meditation, more of the more of the philosophy and the spirituality that's in traditional martial arts and some traditional martial arts. So that was amazing for me. And for about 24 years, I was pretty much just full-fledged martial arts. Not that that was the only thing that I did, and I didn't go through a ton of developmental challenges in my formative years. There was a lot of things that happened in my life, in my upbringing, that were very challenging, and I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. Definitely the journey has been wrought with challenges and obstacles, and making a lot of mistakes and then having to learn how to walk again, so to speak, once you fall and then you have to relearn how to walk. And it's kind of a new sense. It's kind of a new, you have to learn how to do things a new way. And I think that's the biggest challenge that people have had and are having right now. So we can circle back around to that. But long story short, I was an Olympic hopeful for Taekwondo. I was really focused on going to the Olympics because Taekwondo is sanctioned, has been sanctioned in the official Olympics as an official sport. And Taekwondo is what I really loved. I've studied many, many different martial arts. But Taekwondo is really my foundation. I'm a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo. I ran a martial arts school teaching, over hundreds of students from the age of 4 all the way to the age of 50 and 60. So a lot of experience in that world in terms of teaching and instructing and helping other people develop themselves mentally and physically. That's kind of the background that I come from. And I had a series of knee injuries. When I was 18, I had my first knee surgery. And then when I was 21, I had another knee surgery on the other knee. And I had to learn how to heal myself. I had to learn how to rehabilitate myself and keep going for my dream, because that was kind of the driving force. And so I had to really learn about physiotherapy and all the different modalities that come when somebody has to heal themselves, For me, it was physical. It's torn tendons and ligaments and microfibers and muscles, the patella tendon in the knee. And so that's kind of the start of the story, I would say. And then as I was studying alternative medicine, studying alternative, really nutrition, really. I got into raw food. I got into veganism. I got into vegetarianism. And that opened up a major gateway for me. That was about 10 years ago now. So when I was about 24 or so. And I had an amazing experience with green vegetable juicing, raw foods, fruits, vegetables, a little bit of nuts and seeds here and there, smoothies, superfoods, getting into tonic herbalism. That became a massive passion for me, still is. And I healed my knees in 30 days of running an experiment. And the experiment was, what would happen if I adopt a 100% raw vegan diet for 30 days? And so that's how I really got into this, and then had such an amazing experience that I decided to be a speaker and educator in this field. So I made a long transition from my athletic career and then going into becoming a speaker. I've written multiple books, like online platforms, courses, educational courses, all that kind of stuff. And I started speaking. I started traveling around the country, doing book tours, speaking tours on raw foods and superfoods and how to heal yourself naturally. And that's how the journey started. Throughout the last 10 years leading up to right now, I made a significant transition from being a vegetarian to incorporating animal products back into my diet, particularly meat and organ meats. And that's like the next turn of the journey professionally. And I went public about that a number of months ago. And so that was really the turning point, the fork in the road, where I was on this trajectory, and then it all just kind of curved over, going right instead of going left. And so that's been a massive transformation in of itself. And now I feel like we've kind of come full circle with everything, right? With all the knowledge on nutrition, all the knowledge on plant-based foods, all the knowledge on healing modalities, alternative healing modalities, alternative to the status consensus quo, the medical model, the surgical model, the whole thing, that whole system. Not to say that it doesn't have any positivity to it. It does, surgeries, diagnosis, diagnostics, those kind of things. The Western system does incredibly well with, but what they don't do well with, and what most people need, is they need real care, not just urgent care. They're great with urgent care, right? When there's an emergency, you got to sew somebody back up, those kind of things. But that mentality is also brought into the other side, which is, how do you just take care of yourself? How do you just help yourself be a healthier human being? And it's not done through better living through chemistry. That's what that model is based on, better living through chemistry. And I think we're trying to get to a place where it's better living through naturality. I don't know if that's a word, but through nature, right? Through nature's wisdom. And that's what happened to me when I got onto the raw food diet. I started to learn about nature's wisdom and my own nature when I cleaned out the physical body, when I did detoxification and cleansing and purification and colonics and enemas, and bringing more life force into my body, getting into living spring water, getting barefoot on the ground, getting massive amounts of direct UV sun exposure on my skin, getting into nature. That's been my journey over the last 10 years, and really just trying to bring those messages and those experiences and that wisdom out to people. Because ultimately what people are dealing with is a heavy domestication. We're dealing with a massive domestication of the human species, and we're being domesticated from every single level. And really what domestication really means is that it's just like how you domesticate a dog. A dog comes from a wolf.
Yeah.
Dogs come from wild wolves. So if you think of the distinction or the difference between a dog and a wolf, then it might start to make sense that, well, if human beings in the modern age, in the technological age, are basically domesticated versions of what they once were or could be, then the wheels up here start turning a little bit more. You start realizing the implications of the food that you consume, right? And the quality of the food, and where does that food come from? Does it come from the land? Does it come from an organic tree, the soil? Or does it come from a factory? That's kind of the brass tacks and the basics of it, leading up to now. And that's still my mission. My mission is still the same as it was in the beginning. I've just changed a few things about how I eat food. And it's also changed my perspective on the whole situation as a whole. And it's been an interesting journey.
Well, thanks for sharing that super concise cliff notes. I'm sure there was a lot more in there. And something that, I mean, I have a lot of questions, but something you did say, which I found really interesting. Well, not interesting. It's kind of shocking to me that we're so caught up in like this collective psychosis as humanity that we literally are so far removed from nature that, it's this is not me being disrespectful in any way to any teacher, but like we literally get to this point where it's like groundbreaking that, oh, I'll go plant-based for a bit. But then we get stuck in that dogma. We're like, well, we evangelize it. We're like, this is it. And then nature's full of patterns and it's constantly adapting season by season. But as humans, it's like, no, this is the program and that's it. And isn't it crazy that really, in essence, you're teaching people how to come back to nature, but you're having to actually basically decondition people, like, to what we actually are in our true essence. Isn't that kind of crazy?
That's really well said. That's basically what it is. That in a nutshell, that basically is what it is. It's not crazy to me anymore. I feel like I have a pretty sober assessment, a sober grasp on the situation as a whole. And I also feel like most people are desperately confused to put together all the little nitty bitty pieces that are floating on the internet, all these random articles and videos and hearsay and all this stuff. And people are deeply overwhelmed. They're emotionally overwhelmed. They're mentally just exhausted. They don't have the bandwidth to actually process any new bits of information. So the quality of the processing of information itself is getting less and less. So people are actually not able to fully comprehend the nuances of said information. So for example, the plant-based thing, right? This is a great observation for people to make. I've been in that world for 10 years plus, deep in it, like very, very deep in it. And one of the observations I make from that perspective is that a lot of people don't have the mental energy or even the cognitive health, the neurological health, to actually fully comprehend both sides of a conversation. And that's really the skill that people need to navigate sensibly through unsensible situations, which we appear to find ourselves in right now. But when you're in the diet world, there's all kinds of that stuff going on. There's dogmatic imprintations, if you will. There's agendas in every single movement, and you see this. This is what creates movements. This is what glues movements together. You may have a movement that's built on noble intentions, that's built on consciousness. It's built on a forward-thinking movement or idea. But then as you galvanize more and more people and you create followership, you have a lot of followers instead of leaders. And followers want to follow. They don't want to lead, but the leader is trying to create more leaders. It's kind of like if you're a black belt, in that example before of my background, you don't want to just be there, just disseminating instructions and telling people what to do and kind of being like this dictator. You want to replace yourself. You don't want to be in that position forever. So you want to create other leaders by teaching them how to think for themselves, putting them in situations that they need to depend or they need to be self-reliant. So they learn something for themselves. That's not really what's happening. We have this weird thing where we have a few leaders, whether they're good leaders or bad leaders, and then we have a mass amount of followers. And this is an attitudinal issue. This is a psychological issue. And I would assume that the cognitive development of the follower group is substantially lower than the leader group. So first of all, does that make sense?
It makes sense. And as you're speaking, it really reminds me of like religion.
That's right. Yeah. Because how does somebody be mind controlled, or how does somebody, well, I'll just take it back to this inability to comprehend both sides of the coin. Ultimately, that's integration, right? So for me in my journey, I feel like I finally integrated the last decade of studying both sides of the coin, but being really focused more so on one particular side of it. And then it just kind of lined up. And now I feel more of a complete human being. I feel like my perspective is far more complete. I feel like the vegan goggles completely fell off.
Yeah.
And when you have a certain type of goggle, whether it's a religious goggle, it's a vegan goggle, it's a carnivore goggle, it's a Black Lives Matters goggle, it's a wear a face mask goggle, or just wearing a face mask in general, it creates a psychological filter, right? And so you start to filter in relevant information to the dominant mindset that you have, the dominant focus that you have. So somebody's focus is like veganism in this case. That's their focus, and they have all their chips stacked on that, right? Their identity,
Yeah.
all the movement in their life, all the energy, the resources, the grocery shopping, the food prep, the meetup groups, the online groups. Their whole ecosystem has become an echo chamber, an echo chamber, I mean, right? The whole ecosystem of that person's life becomes an echo chamber, and it's reaffirming all the time. That's a form of voluntary mind control. And this isn't to say this isn't about veganism or about this. This is about all of it. This is about every single meme, every single group think herd mentality going on there. You just put a label on it and say, oh, it's this, or it's this, or it's this, or it's this. We need to break out of all of that. We got to get to a place where we stop believing things and we start entertaining all possibilities. Because what's really going on this planet, the technology that's available, that has been for a long, long time, the actual things going in politics, the things really going on in the world are far more, there's far more going on than meets the eye is what I would say. And so we got to get to a place where we're breaking out of these boxes, we're breaking out of these paradigms, and that's how we undomesticate ourselves. But the way that we continue to domesticate ourselves and weaken ourselves is overwhelming ourselves with either just things that we can't comprehend, and so it's just we don't have the energy to process it all, getting sucked into the computer all the time, or having cognitive biases. Right. So the cognitive bias is just the you have a bias towards a particular type of information, but you block out all the other information because it competes with what you've decided is true. Right. But that doesn't mean it's true. It just means that that's something that you've decided for yourself is true. And it may not be the whole picture. So I'll pause on that note.
Yeah, well, it's like you speak and I'm literally like, this makes so much sense. You know, it is true in my experience for me, or was true, that when I was largely plant-based, it became my identity. It actually became part of my spiritual identity. And I still think it was important in my journey to go into that. And at that time, it was important in my development. But there came a point where it limited my growth. It actually it was like you said in the Wellness Force podcast, it's anti-human. And that really resonated because I felt so vata, ether, just like, but unable to actually integrate bigger schemes of thought. And I remember the moment I read like the vegetarian myth and I was knee deep in veganism, and it was painful because it shattered my reality. And the thing is, people are really, I genuinely think like people aren't comfortable looking inwards. And when you look inwards, that's when you really see the reality of all these fragments of yourself, which are just like really trashed. And if they can't look at their own inner pain and wounding, and they don't have the skill set to accept their inner reality, how the hell are they going to accept it outside of them when it comes as that person doesn't agree with me and I'm in conflict with that? It's not like, it's easier just to follow and be essentially a walking zombie, really, because we've got this amazing mind, and yet so much out there, and the agenda really, I think, is it gets numbed, and it's sad. Like, and you were so right about that cognitive kind of, you know, not being able to really see another way of truth. or not being able to integrate all elements being true at some level. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really well said. Yeah, and the fragmentation of the self is really what people are dealing with. That's the overwhelm. People are overwhelmed with too much information. It's creating static in their field.
Mm.
It's creating this kind of static, like electromagnetic energy in their mind. So they can't actually process their own life. And so we're on these endless goose chases, these endless external focuses, distractions, and trying to cosmetically cover up our life. But then there's so much going on within that's it's trying to become conscious. It's trying to come out into the open, but we keep avoiding it or stuffing it down, and with all these belief systems. So that's really, this is really just the process of liberation, liberating ourselves from believing things altogether, because then you can be fluid, right? You're not stuck in a solid position.
Mm-hmm.
You can move and you can adjust, just like the cycles, just like nature, just like the wind. Just being able to be adjustable, and you can have conversations with other people and listen to other people like a normal human being, right? Without having to defend yourself or any of that kind of behavior. It's just, all that's just completely unnecessary. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's just, and those people are operating at a particular, if you want to say frequency or vibration, that is just really unattractive, right? It's very dense. It's very like lower survival kind of energy, and that's not somewhere I want to be. I'm not interested in surviving. Like I've done that my whole life. Like I'm good. I'm interested in massive evolution, massive elevation of what's possible, and that requires dropping off density, right? In order to move up the scales of your own personal vibration, how you feel being uplifted, you got to drop off the weight as you move up. You can't hold those anchors. And for most people, their anchors are their cognitive bias. It's their belief systems that are literally manufacturing the results in their life. And many of these people are not healthy, right? It's not a health, that's not part of health, right? That just creates mental neurosis. And that has a significant effect on our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. So that's what I mean, putting all the pieces together, being holistic, integrating opposing views so you can see which one stands the test of time, or maybe they're both right. Maybe they're actually both right, but it's not this or that. It's not either or, right or left. Maybe there's actually truth in both, and it's seeking a higher evolution. So there's a new emerging paradigm that can only happen if the complementary opposites unite. So, and that's kind of like women and men, right? Like polarities, like this is not competition. This is not repelling, right? So in physics, you have attraction and repellent. You have repulsion and attraction, right? So particles that are vibrating at a particular rate, similar to one another, they resonate, and then there's an attraction. There's a magnetic pull, right? But then you also have the deflection if that's not the case. If it's a dissonant frequency, then there's a repulsion. And so you can just see it playing out in the human personality structure, if you will, of people. People are not themselves. They're their programs.
Yeah.
So they're running programs all day long about who they believe they are. And that means I do this, I eat this, I work out, I do or whatever, right? There's a whole kind of subset of instructions in that program, that software program. Most people are not themselves. And so that's why it's also painful to break the program, because it's a physiological experience. You actually have to break through the encoded programs that are lodged in the nervous system.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a whole lot you could say about body work.
Yeah.
and why Rolfing and neuromuscular release therapy and these different things can be extremely painful, because there's a lot silted up, calcified in the body, and in order to change the program, you do have to get to the nervous system. And that's also why breath work and ice baths is really powerful, because in cold water is really powerful, because it will discharge all that stagnating energy, and you just have to breathe through the discomfort. Kind of like if you have a trigger and you feel defensive, you could go into the program and reinforce that and probably burn some bridges, and probably not create positive results. Or you can actually hold the tension and just breathe and let that energy just move up and observe, like, okay, this is a reaction of a program that I have. That would be my perspective, just kind of simplified.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I always say, like, that's true alchemy. You know, you've got kind of like all these, you know, the movement #witch and and I like, I've been there, whatever, fine. And there's a place for ritual and everything, but like true alchemy to me is being like within your own discomfort and sitting with it and watching how the nervous system actually knows exactly what to do if we would only stop resisting it. Like a lot of the work I do with clients, and why it's so transformative, is it's like body, it's everything, but it's mainly felt in the body. You know, because if you sit there now and think about eating a lemon, your body is doing a certain thing. It's not actually happening, but constantly we're playing out these feeling signatures in response to memory, like the first time we experienced that. And if that was shameful, well, you know, then for most people it is, because our parents and our parents' parents and parents, you know, how we're brought up, you know, we're just programmed. And even as kids, we're not really taught to question. You know, I know how many of my clients, their parents say, well, because I said so. Like, and then there's shame for questioning. I think as humanity, we're shamed for wanting to step out of the herd. And, you know, teachers at school will be like, well, he's a troublemaker. And that becomes your identity. So you don't want to identify with that. So you just join the herd. And, you know, it's when people say, you know, change yourself, it'll change the world. No, really, like, you need to actually learn through this. And then everything will change, you know?
Absolutely, fully agreed.
I was interested, you were talking about masculine and feminine. I would be really, because obviously I went through the whole camp of very reactive feminism in my younger years. And now I actually really love to celebrate the difference between men and women. But something that I've really noticed lately is that, probably get loads of backlash for this, but you mentioned about, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement. I actually feel like white men are now the most victimized of the whole bunch. And I'm just curious, as a white male, heterosexual male, what, you know, what are your thoughts on that's going on right now?
Yeah. Well, again, you know, it depends on what layer that you want to look at. If people want to stay on the surface of everything, then it's just going to be a conversation of black versus white, white privilege, white shame. I mean, it's just going to be, so that's the level of consciousness. And Dr. David Hawkins in his book, Power versus Force, details this.
Great.
And the range of the vibration or the energy scale of emotions. Shame is at the lowest. It's like it's the lowest possible, or the second to lowest possible energy that somebody can be living in. So on the surface, that's what is going on. It's just shaming, blaming, pointing fingers, the same old, same old. Does that mean that there aren't real issues? Sure, there's real issues, but there's much bigger issues way beyond that, right? Way beyond that. As a white male, I don't really play that game, right? Like I I've grown up in periods of my life surrounded by African American culture. I was in the basketball culture, the hip hop culture, growing up in Oakland, California, and Berkeley and San Francisco, California. So I'm pretty well adept and exposed to that world. Um, I have no personal qualms with me in any way. I think that there's a lot of re-education that needs to be done out there. But make no mistake, this particular agenda and the timing of it is completely manufactured. So that's why I don't play those games, because I'm not going to get distracted by corporatized, politicized decoys to what is actually going on. And what is actually going on would blow people's minds. You know, the elephant in the room is, and that's why all these things are happening, right? In the Black Lives movement itself, I have no problem with the basic message, and I don't really care. I mean, I care about Black lives, I care about all lives, but what I really care about is black, red, brown, white, yellow, and every other potential color of a human being. I care about the children. And what's really going on in the world is that's really the deal. It's human trafficking. It's pedophile networks that are being unearthed, that have been going on for centuries. The oldest form of sorcery and witchcraft, if you will, in the shadow sense. All that's really what's going on underneath the surface. So I don't get caught up in all this. By the way, if you study the politics of this movement, where is all the money going? Where is all the money for the Black Lives funding going? It's been proven and shown that it's all going back into the Democratic pockets, particularly Joe Biden, so he can fund his campaign, because Donald Trump, who took control of the Treasury, put a hold on all that money flow, right?
Yeah.
The criminal money flow. So they don't have money coming in. That's why, I mean, it's just like, it's unbelievable. It's just like, the facts are there. I don't even, and it's not even really a direction I really want to go deep into right now, but I just want to point that out for people. You asked me the question. I just understand what's going on. I just see the whole dynamic. And it goes back to what I said before, is that people are not themselves. People are running programs. Mm-hmm. So if people have been traumatized and wounded, and they have ancestral trauma that also, we know, epigenetically crosses generationally. So your grandparents may have more similar genetics to you than just your parents. There's this this skipping of generations in genetic reproducing, and our ancestral trauma, the trauma that's stored in your DNA, is transferred over, boom, 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 until it's healed. So on one level, you could say that that's what's attempting to happen. The repressions and the swelling of the collective wound of our culture, our society, our world, is all bubbling up and rising to the surface. So there's levels that you have to look at this for. I'll try to simply explain this in a way that hopefully makes sense. What you're seeing on the streets is one dimension, it's one realm of reality. Okay, if you think of the earth, and you could even think of like, not a totally literal flat earth model, but imagine you had one layer of earth, and the geology of the earth, the physical earth, right? Not the planet, but the physical earth is actually a flat surface. Mm-hmm. And it's like a ring. Then on top of that, you have another ring, and it's a smaller earth, and it just goes up about 5 levels, right? That's what we would call a realm model. And there's a toroidal force field that's basically in a dome, kind of that shape. I'm not saying it is or isn't, it's part of my research. Just imagine that for a second if you can, okay? Now, we'll take that model. Each one of those layers, those earths, are realms, they're dimensions. So in our realm, our dimension, there's multiple dimensions of reality playing out, and every human being is either oscillating between dimensional realms, or they're literally living in one or the other. And that's so what we get to do is we get to just decide which realm of reality do we want to choose. And people are being herded in a particular realm of reality that is incredibly low frequency. It's destructive. It's the opposite of productive. It's heavy, it's dense, it's like a prison planet kind of reality, right?
Yeah.
So everybody in that realm is there. That's the energy of it, if that makes sense. I might lose some people here, but hopefully that idea makes sense from kind of a metaphysical perspective. And then just the higher up you go, it's more like paradise.
Yeah.
It's more like heaven on earth. And heaven and hell are both coexisting at the same time. Heaven on earth and hell on earth is right there in the midst, or right there in the whole thing is going on at the same time. And it's really a choice that we all have to make. And in order to make that choice, we have to choose responsibility. We have to choose reliability, self-reliance. We have to choose to let go of any victim stories whatsoever, no matter what the reason is, no matter what the movement says. We have to actually allow ourselves to die to all of our excuses, limitations, blame, all of that kind of thing. That's the only way to ascend, because otherwise we're just going to keep playing out the whole situation as we have for centuries and centuries and centuries. So that's a lot. That's a lot to think about. But that's kind of how I see it in a nutshell. And that's why I don't get caught up in it, because I know where I want to go. And I know where I'm best used. I'm not best used out there waving signs and yelling at cops and all these crazy things that are going on. That's not going to get us anywhere. That's going to cause us to devolve into chaos. And I'm not interested in that. So it's just like, where are you interested? Where are your interests guiding you? Where is your attention? What are you focused on? That's really the game.
I mean, you said it better than I can, but from the off, the timing of it was, well, it's genius, it's like magic and spells and just,
it's a dream
quite
spell.
funny, it's a bad dream, what's going on. And
this is a dream spell.
It is, like, I can't breathe. It's magic. Putting masks on people. It's magic on the highest.
That's right.
It actually comes to the point where, like, it's not even funny. Like, it's like, I'm not even surprised now when something, how, I think we're just at this point, it's a critical point. I mean, like, I'm an astrologer, that's like my trade, if I was going to pick something that's and we're at this point in the last 500 years, we're at another turning point. We haven't seen this energy in 500 years. You never see the same energy really twice, but we're in this cycle where the last time this happened was, do you remember, like, Martin Luther decentralized the Catholic Church and the Bible, and in Europe it descended into chaos? It's the same energy where people were like, oh, and I genuinely pray that, we keep evolving, because it's a critical point right now. And we can't afford to just keep burying our heads in the sand. Like, the media keep going on about this other stuff when it's quite obvious what's actually going on. And you said it around the children. And the cult and all of that stuff. That's the stuff that I think and I pray will come out. But
well, I just want to jump in. So thank you. And the astrology is really, really fascinating, and you could probably speak to that way better than I can. I'm just kind of like, I observe these things, but that's not really my genius. But I am well aware that the astrology is unlike anything it's ever been. And I feel like we have 6 months to really evolve.
It
It's
is.
evolve or die, really. And death can mean many things: the death of your paradigm, the death of your belief systems, the death of what you've held on to as a sense of certainty. You have to let that all die, because those are anchors, and they're rudders. They're holding you hostage to what you can become. And so I'd really love for people to start entertaining possibilities and entertaining, what could I be? What could I do if I let go of this thing that I don't want to let go of?
Mm-hmm.
That's been the game. That's really always been the game, but now more than ever, because we're seeing the dismantling and the demise of a parasitic culture, or a parasitic energy within a culture that has parasitized and piratized, meaning has pirated onto the minds of everybody in the culture, and the actual the corporate structure of the culture itself has been piratized, and you literally have pirates running the show, right? So the positive of all this is that we know this now. It's all been unearthed.
Mm.
It's all come out. Like, what's happening with this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, and Ghislaine Maxwell, and this whole thing. Like, just get ready. That's what I
Just
say
the
to people. Like,
beginning.
really, like, just get ready. Not necessarily to even do anything. I don't think most people are doing too much, and I don't know if it's really doing much use. What I'd say is get healthy.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. My whole 10 years is this last 10 years is about, you got to prioritize your health. You got to prioritize your stress levels. You got to prioritize your sleep. You got to prioritize your emotional well-being. The rates of suicide that have happened due to this charade, due to this lockdown, due to social isolation, is unbelievable. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I last heard that they were greater than multiple years before in the last couple months. That is unbelievable and tragic and sad, but it's also representative of how fragile the mind is, in how deep the spell casting of fear, because the fear is the virus, right? I'm working on a book. One of my books I'm working on is called the Pathology of Fear. My whole life has always been about overcoming fear.
Yeah.
And I realized that fear creates a self-fulfilling echo chamber, like that echo chamber model, right? The way you keep people in a movement, the way you keep people following, there's some kind of fear. There's a fear there. There's a fear that kind of holds the thing together, right? Don't eat meat because it's going to kill you. It's going to give you cancer, right? Like these kind of things. But that's not really true. There's nuances. Like factory farmed industrial meat is an absolute abomination.
Mm-hmm.
Should never have happened. So sorry on behalf of the human race that even is a thing. And the animal cruelty that's gone on there is absolutely inexcusable, right? But that doesn't mean that that's all that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that small scale farmers are abusing their animals, that those animals are even suffering, that there's any violence whatsoever. Do they die at the very tip off point at the end of their life? Yeah, we all do, right? We all do. The fear of death is a very insidious program, and it's incredibly illogical and irrational when you really think about it,
Yeah.
because our entire life is a preparation for that final initiation, right? So yeah, I feel like the fear pandemic, the pathology of fear and how it creates self-fulfilling prophecies in our lives is that is the thing. That is the thing we have to overcome.
Yeah.
And also, surprise, surprise, your immune system is being affected maybe more significantly than to your thoughts and your emotions than anything else. And this was discovered in psychoneuroimmunology. Psychoneuroimmunology. It's a type of science that basically correlates our immune function directly to our thoughts. And obviously thoughts produce emotions. So, you know, do 1 + 1, kids. Like, it's not that difficult. It's not that hard to navigate through this, but you can't do it if you are unhealthy. The people running around in the streets, do these people look like the healthiest people to you? Do these people look like you want to join their cause because it's a healthy cause and it's going to make your life better? I really advise people to get more self-centered, right? People are like, oh, but you're being selfish. Like, no, that's just the program. That, again, that's just the shame program. Oh, you're not wearing a mask. You're not looking out for me. It's like, dude, I'm one of the healthiest people on the planet. You got nothing to worry about. You're better off with me around anyways, right? I don't have to worry about that. But that's just the tactic. That's the tactic of the dark side, if you will. Shame. Make people feel less than you because you're wearing a mask, right? Or you're eating meat, or you don't care about black lives because you're not supporting the cause. You know, I can't. Well, I don't want tangential. I don't want to like go on any more tangents about it, but it's complete insanity. It's complete insanity. So I just want to say, get self-centered. What being self-centered actually means is that you're centered in yourself. You are the star of your own movie. Stop giving your power away to other people. They got their own movie. They got their own version of reality. They got their own life that they need to take care of. Be careful who you surround yourself with. Be careful. Just be aware, right? Because right now, more than ever, is the time to dial in. What are my goals? What do I need to take care of? What do I want? You know, who do I want it with? All that stuff. And just get so laser focused on that. And no matter what's going on in the world outside, in the media projection machine, you know, the media magic tricks that they're playing, this has been the greatest media magic trick in history. I'll just say that last thing. This has been the greatest media magic trick in history. But thankfully, people are waking up and having spiritual awakenings and having all this just come to consciousness moment, just clarity of consciousness. That is very, I'm very optimistic about that. And we're just going to see how this thing plays out.
I agree. Let's see. And it's true, you know, it takes tremendous courage for people to truly let go of their stuff that's weighing them down. But it's possible. Like, if I can do it, if you can do it, if many other people can do it, it's possible. You know, we all hold that potential. Like, we're all the seedlings. We can all grow into trees, you know. We just have to give ourselves the right fuel. So Ronnie, thank you so much. I literally would love to talk to you so much more. And this took a turn that I didn't think it would take, but I think it's the turn it needed to take. So I'm happy about that. So how can people find out more about you? I know that you have a program that you're offering. So do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I created a series of online educational courses. I have 2 holistic nutrition programs, and one of them is my flagship program I've had for about 6 years. It's called the Holistic Health Mastery Program. It's a fully comprehensive online video academy, and it has a holistic nutrition certification program built into it. And then it also has 55 bonus videos that were filmed all over, like Hawaii and Sedona, Arizona, and a few other places. Really well put together, just a great program, very user-friendly, and very inexpensive at the same time. And but that program is heavily focused on, there's no dogma. There's many different perspectives I bring into it, but it's heavily focused on the education and science of raw plant foods and superfoods and herbalism and cleansing, detoxification. It's really the foundation of what I believe everybody should understand and know about holistic health and nutrition, especially people that are coaches and are providing services and helping people. These are some of the things that I think are just really essential. So I decided that that program's usually $1,000 and you get lifetime access to it, and you can keep going over it even after you go through the curriculum part. You can keep going over it as long as you want. But I decided to make for your audience a 50% discount. So that's $500 off. And you can give that information if you have it. Yeah, so that's something I wanted to offer to everybody, just as a passing kind of gift. If you resonate with that, if that makes sense to you, then happy to bring you into that program. And we have a lot of other stuff we're doing too. But the website, let me pull it up real quick because I just changed the website and the URL is not it's not the same as it was. It is, so it's www.ronnie-landis.mykajabi.com. That's the actual website. It's probably going to be easier if I just hand it off to you to put in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Facebook, Instagram for social media and just keeping up with all the chaos and mayhem out in the social media world. Hopefully I'm doing my part to help kind of shine a light and just keep educating people and keeping people optimistic and motivated, even in the midst of total confusion.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm sure people are going to be jumping on that. So thank you so much. And I will include it, of course, all in the show notes. And I just want to thank you again for your experience, your wisdom, your insight today. It's invaluable. And I just want to really honor you for that and express my gratitude.
Well, beautiful, Cassie. I hope we didn't go on too many riffs and rants, but it felt like this is really where the attention is right now on all these different topics. So excited to be able to share with you, and this was a lot of fun.
Thanks. So thank you once again for tuning in, and please remember to leave a rating and review. Share this episode with anyone you think it will benefit, and make sure you take advantage of Ronnie's amazing program and reach out to him. I cannot wait to hear from you, and please remember also that if you want to be on that Heal Your Inner Child group coaching program, let me know. See you soon.